The sky burned for 3 days. Every government on Earth said the same thing: do not engage. But by the 4th day, humans had already started shooting. They called themselves the Overlords of the Arkan Dominion, a title that tasted like arrogance even before their ships blackened our skies. Their arrival wasn't dramatic, it was surgical. No warning shots. No declarations. Just the cold hum of orbital beams turning satellites into dust and cities into memory. In 1 day, every network went dark. In 2, the oceans boiled beneath falling wreckage. By the 3rd, Earth was silent. Or so they thought. The Arkan came not for conquest, but for correction. In their minds, humanity had advanced too fast, an anomaly that threatened the balance of galactic order. Their purpose was to reshape us into something obedient, predictable. They miscalculated. Because humans don't reshape. We resist. When the first Overlord ground forces landed, vast obsidian figures wrapped in biomechanical armor, they expected compliance. Instead, they found civilians firing scavenged rifles, militias detonating fuel depots, and soldiers fighting long after their commanders were gone. To the Overlords, it was chaos. To us, it was instinct. Within weeks, the survivors had vanished into the ruins. Every city became a trap. Every street was a grave waiting to be filled. The Overlord scanners picked up motion where none existed, heat signatures that blinked out like ghosts. They called us the Ferals of Earth. They didn't realize what they were actually seeing, the birth of resistance. In the ruins of Berlin, a single human transmission broke the silence across the dead frequencies. If you can hear this, you are the resistance. We are not extinct, we are adapting. That message spread like wildfire through the underground networks, from hidden bunkers to orbital debris fields where engineers were piecing together old satellites. It wasn't a call to arms. It was a promise. Humanity will never kneel. The Overlords had studied our species for centuries, our art, our wars, our civilizations, and concluded that humans were predictable, emotional, easy to manipulate. But they never understood the thing that made us dangerous. We fight best when we've already lost. On the 3rd week of occupation, an Overlord warship hovering over the ruins of Tokyo suddenly exploded from the inside out. Its blackened hull fell from the sky, and painted on its remains, in human blood, were 3 words that marked the beginning of the end. The Overlords came to teach us obedience. Instead, they taught us unity. And unity in human hands is a weapon the galaxy had never seen before. The fall of Tokyo changed everything. For the first time, the Overlord ships burned, and the whole galaxy watched. Their perfect record of domination cracked in one blinding flash over a broken city, and through that crack, humanity's rage began to pour out. They tried to hide the footage, erasing transmissions, silencing witnesses. But humans had already found a way to hijack the alien network. Across every occupied region, the same hacked signal broadcasted, over and over again, the explosion replayed with one line of text flashing beneath it. We are not done yet. From that day, the resistance stopped surviving and started evolving. Underground bunkers became command centers. Broken satellites became communication nodes. Entire armies rose from the ashes, not under flags or nations, but under one symbol, a single red mark carved into metal walls, a human handprint. To the Overlords, it was graffiti. To us, it was scripture. In the ruins of Moscow, human engineers repurposed alien energy cores to power makeshift railguns. In South America, guerrilla squads learned to hijack Overlord drones, turning them against their masters. On the African plains, tribes and soldiers fought side by side, coordinating strikes with precision the invaders didn't think our primitive species was capable of. And for the first time, humanity fought as one species. No borders, no languages, no divisions. Just one shared truth. If one world burns, we all burn together. The Overlord's commanders began reporting strange patterns. Their soldiers were ambushed with tactics that shifted daily. Human units vanished into storms, striking again miles away hours later. Every assault on Earth met the same outcome: silence, then slaughter. They analyzed our tactics for months before realizing the awful truth. There were no tactics. Humans weren't following a central command anymore. They were improvising, instinctively, collectively, unpredictably. Every human, from scavenger to scientist, had become part of a living network, a swarm intelligence born not of technology, but of shared fury. The Overlords called it the human algorithm. Their archives described it as chaotic adaptation that defies simulation. Their generals described it as a nightmare. By the time the Dominion High Council convened to discuss the human problem, Earth had already turned into a graveyard for alien arrogance. Entire Overlord legions disappeared in the jungles of South America. Their orbital stations stopped responding. Their drones began transmitting human voices. And one night, as the storm rolled over the Atlantic, a captured Overlord transmission echoed across every surviving human radio. "We thought you were broken. We thought you were beneath us. Now we understand, you were only sleeping." From the ashes of the last Overlord outpost in Europe, a signal pulsed through the void. Not from the Overlords, but from humanity. A single sentence broadcasted across the stars in a dozen languages. "Earth is not yours to rule, it's your first lesson." The Overlords thought we couldn't leave our planet. They were right for a while. Then we learned how to steal their wings. When the Overlords came to Earth, they brought their war machines, their ships, and their arrogance. When they left, we took all three. The first human ship to pierce the upper atmosphere wasn't designed, it was salvaged. A broken Overlord transport, held together with scavenged parts, human welding, and sheer defiance. It launched from the ruins of an orbital elevator in Nairobi, its hull covered in graffiti that read, "Return to sender." The Overlords laughed when they detected the launch, until it disappeared from their scanners. Then reappeared, inside one of their own cruisers. The humans didn't just copy alien technology. They reprogrammed it. They used the Overlords' own systems against them, blending brute force with creativity no machine intelligence could predict. What followed became legend, the Reclamation Campaign. Human fleets, ragtag, half-functional, but terrifyingly effective, began striking Dominion outposts across the solar system. Mars, Europa, the mining stations around Titan. One by one, the Overlord banners fell. Each time, the same message was left behind, carved into the walls in dozens of languages. Humanity lives. By now, the rest of the galaxy was watching. Dozens of alien civilizations who had once feared the Overlords began to whisper. The idea of humans, this chaotic, broken species, was spreading like wildfire through galactic channels. They had expected Earth to die quietly. Instead, it had become a beacon of rebellion. The Overlords tried to contain it. They reinforced their fleets, sealed their borders, and declared any human ship an extermination priority. But it didn't matter. Because humanity had already learned the one truth of war they never could. You can't stop what you can't predict. Our tactics evolved faster than they could analyze. We used radiation storms as cover for our fleets. We disguised our transmissions as solar interference. We hijacked their drones and turned them into decoys, broadcasting false positions and fake distress signals. Every Overlord countermeasure became our next weapon. Every human loss became a new strategy. Soon, Overlord soldiers began deserting. Commanders refused to deploy near human sectors. Rumors spread that we had found ways to erase memories, that captured Overlords were returned. Different, whispering in human tongues. The Dominion called us the Unbound. The name stuck. And then came the day that changed everything. A small fleet of human ships, barely a dozen, jumped through captured wormhole technology and emerged inside the Dominion's home sector. They weren't supposed to make it. They weren't supposed to survive. But they did, and they streamed a single message across every Overlord frequency in existence. You brought the war to us. Now we bring it home. As the human fleet vanished into hyperspace, an Overlord admiral stood in silence before the burning hologram of Earth. He turned to his aide and said, "They were never fighting for survival. They were learning how to conquer." The Overlords once ruled 1,000 worlds. Now, they watched a single human fleet burn their empire from the inside. The galaxy called it madness. We called it justice. The Dominion homeworld was a cathedral of metal and light, a planet-sized fortress built on the bones of conquered species. For millennia, no enemy had dared to approach it. Its defenses were flawless, its fleets unmatched. Until humanity arrived. The first wave wasn't an army. It was a message. From the void came ghost transmissions, fragments of human voices whispering through the Dominion's encrypted channels. Do you remember Earth? Do you remember the cities you burned? Now it's your turn to remember what fear feels like. Moments later, Dominion orbital stations began to fail. Their own satellites turned against them, bombarding planetary shields with redirected plasma. The humans weren't attacking head-on. They were collapsing the Overlords' infrastructure from within, using the same networks they'd built to enslave others. Every Overlord command ship suddenly went dark. Every fleet's targeting system began reading human signatures everywhere, on asteroids, in clouds, even within their own ranks. Their precision was their downfall. Because we didn't fight like soldiers anymore. We fought like survivors, unbound, unpredictable, and unstoppable. The human fleet, led by the ship Vengeance, dropped out of hyperspace directly above the Dominion capital. There were no speeches, no ultimatums. Just one broadcast, the same 3 words written on the hull of the first ship that escaped Earth. Return to sender. The bombardment that followed shattered the sky. Human railguns, firing chunks of molten city debris, ripped through their planetary defenses. Swarms of drones, repurposed Overlord units, turned against their masters, tearing apart command centers from within. By the time the Dominion's main fleet arrived, their homeworld was already burning. And through the chaos, humanity spoke one final transmission to the galaxy. This is what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. But the humans didn't stay to rule. When the fires dimmed and the Dominion fell silent, the fleet turned away. No colony established. No resources claimed. Humanity hadn't come for conquest. We'd come for closure. The surviving Overlords begged for peace, offering their archives, their technology, their entire civilization. The human envoy stood before them, scarred, silent, and unreadable, and simply said, "Keep your empire. Just remember who ended it." The war ended, but the galaxy was never the same. Every species that had once bowed to the Overlords now looked to the stars differently. They whispered the same phrase across every world, in every language. Beware the humans. Not out of hatred. Out of awe. Out of fear. Out of respect. Because the war had proven one thing: humanity wasn't just another species. We were a force of nature. When pushed to the brink, we became the storm that could shatter empires. Years later, on the edge of a distant colony, a child looked up at the night sky, at the glowing wreck of a Dominion ship still orbiting a red sun, and asked, "Will the humans ever come back?" The old alien beside him shivered and whispered, "Only if someone's foolish enough to wake them."